In this video, we have to deploy the same blue-green deployment architecture that we did in our previous video. We understand the concept of blue-green deployment, purpose, the benefits. So now we have to implement the same practice across the different namespaces. In previous video, we created our ingress resource, the service, the deployment, everything within the same namespace. And normally we are using the ingress uh, with the service and the deployment in the same namespace. But it is also possible that your deployment is in a different namespace and your ingress is in a different namespace, and you can create a service that can point to a different namespace for a deployment. So how it will work? In this diagram you can see there is a pod. It can be under a deployment, and this pod is exposed by a service. So definitely this service is has created a, a record, a DNS a record in the cluster DNS. So this is a different namespace. You can say it's a blue namespace. Similarly, in the green namespace, the green deployment or pod is exposed by a service. So now when these two services are created, they have both have the DNS record in the DNS, and we will create a third namespace that will be used to to uh, to deploy our ingress resource, and ingress resource need a service in the same namespace. We will create a service, but this service will be of type external name. So I will do practically, then you will better understand how this whole infrastructure will work. First of all, let me show you kubectl get nodes. This is my cluster. So here I have green deployment. This time I will deploy the green deployment in the namespace with the name green ns. Rest of all is same we did in the previous video. Similarly, blue deployment. The blue deployment, the namespace is blue ns, and the rest of all is same. I am using here for the blue nginx, and for green I'm using httpd, same like we did. So now let me create first of all the namespaces. Blue namespace, the green namespace, and now I will apply blue deployment, green deployment, ctl get deploy. Green namespace is one deploy with one pod, blue namespace, blue deployment with the one pod. Okay, now we will expose these deployments. Blue deployment with the name blue app svc of type by default, is the cluster IP for the port number 80, and the target port is also 80, and it will be in the namespace blue ns. Similarly, I will do for green namespace and the green deployment. So now if I get the SVC, this is created, and in the green it's also created. It's mean there is a DNS record created in our cluster with the name green app svc dot the name of the namespace dot svc dot domain name of the cluster. Cluster.local is my default cluster domain name. By default it's given, but if you can also change this domain name. And during the installation of the cluster we discussed this in detail while we did the videos for cluster installation. So this will be the complete name that is responsible to resolve name to IP of this service. Okay, so now we created two namespaces. Now we have to create a third namespace, just like in this diagram. Just like here, its namespace is BG switch. You can define any meaningful name. So I will create namespace blue green switch, and in this blue green switch namespace I have to create a service of type external name. So here in the documentation of Kubernetes you can search for the external name service. So you can get the command kubectl create service external name of the service, and uh, external name you can define. So it will create a CNAME type of record, in uh, in the DNS. So I am going to create an external name. I can say BG SVC, any meaningful name we can give, and the service external name, and the external name is any meaningful name we have to change. The external name is this one, and here I can say it's green app SVC, because this is pointing to green app DNS record. Sorry, I created in the default namespace kubectl get svc kubectl delete svc. I will recall the same command, and it has to be in the BG switch namespace. BG switch namespace. So get svc-n BG switch. So this external name service is created. Now I will create another service with blue app svc name that will be pointing to blue app svc in the blue namespace, and rest of all is same. So if you create any pod in the cluster and just ping this name that I wrote here, that will be reachable. So you can, if you are confused about this concept that how this whole DNS name is created, So you can see the videos where we discuss in detail the external and name related service. We discuss all the type of services. So you need to understand this one. So that will also go in the BG switch. kubectl get svc in namespace BG switch. So you can see now we have two services. Now we have to create our ingress resource. So ingress resource I will create in the BG switch namespace with the name ingress BG, and the namespace will be BG switch. Ingress class I'm using Nginx. And if you are confused about what is this ingress, how does it works, you can see the previous videos. You can get the detailed idea. The domain name I am creating this example.com. In my DNS, I made an entry that is pointing to my master node and from my this Windows machine just to reach this page. And here I created Blue App SVC. Let me just confirm Blue App SVC. Yes, this is right. So it is right now pointing to Blue App SVC. So I save this ctl apply -f ingress ctl get ingress namespace blue green switch. So now this is now pointing to this domain is pointing to this address. So if I kubectl get endpoints in this namespace, so the external name does not contain any endpoints. Endpoints are basically related to the cluster IP related service. So blue NS, you can see there is endpoint. Green NS, there is endpoint. But external name does not contain any endpoint. It's just a CNAME record that is created in your DNS record. So now everything is done. Let me again open this diagram. We created this ingress resource that is pointing to an external name service. Now external name service is pointing to blue deployment that is in a different namespace. Normally we are creating service that is pointing to the same namespace deployment, but by using the leverage of external namespace, we route the traffic across the different namespace to a service, and that service will then route the traffic to the real pods that are running the actual application. So now let me just quickly go to my browser, and here first of all kubectl get namespace, kubectl get svc in the Nginx ingress. So if you are confused how does this ingress is working, and this node port that is responsible to expose port 80 on this node port and port 443 on this node port, you can see my previous videos where we detail discuss about all these concepts. So here 30245 port is responsible to take the request from external network from any worker in master node that will route the traffic for port 80 to ingress, and then ingress will route the traffic to our actual application. And this port is responsible for 443, I mean HTTPS based traffic, SSL. So we created ingress very simple. We just created without SSL. So we will use this port 30245. So here I will access simple 30245. So here you can see the Nginx page is loaded, and here in the blue deployment we use Nginx image. So in the green deployment we use Apache image. That is another version of the application. You can say I use just very simple images. So we have to route the traffic to green deployment. Just we need to do kubectl get ing -n bg switch namespace kubectl edit ingress. So here we have to just change the service name green, sorry, and now I will just refresh, and you see the traffic is now routed to another namespace, that is green NS, that contain a different deployment. So with this way we end-to-end tested the accessibility of service across the different namespaces for ingress resource. So for example, think like this is your new version of the application and you found some issue in this application. You can quickly roll back your application by editing the ingress resource or by modifying your manifest and reapply this, just changing the service back to previous version. Now when I will refresh, it is going back to Nginx. So I hope you got the idea. So to understand this concept, definitely you should have idea about the ingress, about the services, and how deployment does work. So if you have any question, you can ask in the comment or you can directly contact me.